In addition to viruses, there's other non-living infectious particles. Veroids are one of them. So veroids are circles of RNA. They do not encode proteins, but they do use the host cells to replicate. The veroid shown here apparently interferes with the plant's ability to make essential proteins. I want to show you an example of another veroid. I'm going to pull up just Google Images here real quick. And show you what veroids can do to potatoes. So veroids are found in certain soils. They take a normal potato and turn it into this. So that's the potato spindle tuber veroid, and it causes large crops of potatoes to just be lost. These are tasteless, they're tiny, they don't give a lot of food, so it's devastating when potato farmers encounter these veroids. So not only are veroids a problem for plants, but they directly play a role in agriculture and have some major costs to farmers. Next are prions. So prions are small infectious proteins. And these infectious proteins have the ability to self-replicate. Strangely, upon contact with an abnormally folded or formed prion, a normal prion switches to the abnormal shape. And then it says prions are responsible for mad cow disease. So what a prion is it's an infectious protein, and it'll start to make copies of itself, and then neighboring prions will start to misfold as well, and they cause this damage to form inside of here. And that's an area of debris inside of the central nervous system tissue, and your white blood cells come in and start to eat up that debris, leaving these holes in the brain and spinal cord. Thus, prion diseases are often termed spongiform encephalopathies. Spongy form, so literally it means spongy form. Encephal is talking about brain, thopy, disease. If we put the word bovine in front of it, that's mad cow disease. Bovine spongiform encephalopathy is mad cow disease. What mad cow disease is these proteins start to accumulate inside of the brain tissue. It causes holes to form, and then the cow starts to act a little bit abnormal. They stop coming during feeding times. They isolate themselves away from the herd. Eventually, they start to have a drunken gait. They start to slip and stagger while they walk, and this does eventually lead to death in the animal. In addition to bovine spongiform encephalopathy, there is chronic wasting disease in deer. It causes them to stumble around. If you notice where chronic wasting disease is in Wisconsin, it's heavily concentrated around southeastern Wisconsin. But in the northern parts of the state, wolves are controlling chronic wasting disease. Anytime you have a deer that's walking around like it's drunk up north, it's going to get wiped out by a wolf. But down here, we don't have wolves, so chronic wasting disease populations are increasing. Scrapie in sheep. So in sheep, this causes them to go absolutely nuts, where they start ramming their bodies into sharp edges to literally scrape off their flesh. So you'll see a sheep just beat itself up and rip off chunks of its own tissue, and they go crazy and they end up dying from subsequent infections or blood loss due to all of that's going on with the sheep. There's also a human form of mad cow disease that's called Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease. There's also familial insomnia. These can be inherited, but there's also some evidence that suggests that if you eat infected brain tissue, so if you eat cow brains that have been infected with BSE, or if you eat deer brains or spinal cord tissue that's been infected, that you can get this by eating it. In people, it's like watching someone go through the stages of Alzheimer's disease in a very rapid time frame. So from the sign or the first initial kind of outburst of symptoms to death, it's about a month. So they go through all of the stages of Alzheimer's disease. They start to forget things, start to do things backwards. Eventually they slip into a coma and die. And all of that happens so quickly. Within a month's time period, they're gone. There's no cure and there's no diagnosis until autopsy. So you really don't know why the person died until autopsy is performed. And there's no treatment. Even if you had a clue that it was the inherited form, you wouldn't be able to treat. So kind of going back to the whole virus thing, following HIV's trail. So HIV likely originated as a related virus called simian immunodeficiency virus, or SIV, and that's common in chimps. Amino acid sequences of viral proteins help researchers to build the evolutionary tree of these related viruses. Humans who hunt chimps for meat were likely infected with SIV. The virus mutated in humans, giving rise to multiple strains of HIV. There's also people that sacrifice chimps in honor of people that have died, and they'll drink the blood of chimps in these huge rituals and ceremonies, and they think that that's the origin of where this came from.